From atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West, you are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, continues now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for June 4th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is Hour 2 of 2. The goal always to protect life, liberty, and property, to promote God, family, and country, and to do so on your radio with the traditions of our founding fathers, using the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, for the United States of America as our guide, rejecting revolution, lessons of Jesus' revolution, then win, because we follow the Prince of Peace. James Edwards with me, thepoliticalcesspool.org. Welcome back, sir.
Good to be back, Sam, or rather good to still be here with you, as always.
And we've got so much to brief folks on. Sadly, we learned that they try to shut us down, James. And we learned this primarily a variety of places, but the one I'll point to right now is when I was involved in this event for the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And it was in Las Vegas in 2024. I can't remember the month. It's like April or May or whatever, 2024. We had a big old conference in Vegas at the Ahern Hotel, and the thugs found out about it. And they literally tried to shut our event down. And they actually got Steve Bannon to publicly jettison Sam Bushman and say, I can't go because Sam Bushman's there. Imagine Steve Bannon being afraid of Sam Bushman. But anyway, I digress. What a clown. And he's a felon and I'm not. But I digress. They called him a racist. They called him a racist as well. And so anyway, the bottom line is I like Steve Bannon. I think he does a lot of good and I really appreciate him. I just don't know what made him, cave like that. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and get the behind the scenes on that one. Nevertheless, the good news is the Ahern Hotel had a president by the name of Shane. And my buddy Shane got the call, and they said, hey, you got to shut this down. Sam Bushman and Richard Mack and CSPOA are going to be there. Shut it down. And Shane said, no, not a chance. His name is Shane McFarland. He's the president of the hotel. He said, I'm not shutting down. I know Sam Bushman personally very well, and what you're saying about him is just flat out bogus. Not only did he not shut down and told him to fly a kite, but he literally got up. He called me up and he said, Sam, I know you're going to speak at your own conference, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, can I have a couple of minutes of your speaking time? I'm like, sure, Shane, why not? He goes, because I want to just stand up and say a couple of things. And so right at the start of my speech, Shane McFarland, president of Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas, stood up and said, Sam Bushman, you know what? I love you. They wanted me to shut down. I refuse. I will not do it. I stand with all kinds of people. We have, hundreds of events every year, and I'm not shutting down one bit. And I endorse and I support Sam Bushman, and their conference is incredible, and they're welcome here anytime. And I got that literally. There's a speech that we put on the internet. If you go to thelibertyconference.com, you can check out that speech. Go to thelibertyconference.com, go to the Vegas conference, and check out the comments by Shane McFarland, and you can see it live video. So he had the guts to stand with us. The problem is most folks won't stand with us. And so oftentimes we have to have our conferences, private conferences, private invite, private, and then after the fact we can talk about them. Otherwise we'll get shut down. Sadly, James, you've kind of had a lot of that happen too, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't take many times for you to learn and to adapt and to become nimble and continue to press on and advance and hold events that become increasingly better over the years. I mean, Sam, you came and spoke at our 10-year anniversary event in 2014, and you've been to several others that I put on. These are all very high-quality events at top-flight venues, excellent accommodations, food, entertainment. But it seems as we have moved from one success to another. I mean, I guess perhaps, but yes, I mean, what you have, when we had an event that got canceled, the last time that happened was in 2008. And what happened was we made the mistake of believing that America was the land of the free. It may still be the home of the brave with certain people, but it is no longer, and has not been for a long time, the land of the free. And we thought that as law-abiding, tax-paying, God-fearing citizens, we could have a conference where we exercise our First Amendment rights, our rights, constitutionally guaranteed rights of free assembly, to rent a hotel room, to do all the things that a lot of good citizens can do. Right. Well, what happened was, because communist organizations have given us a bad reputation, and they like to
lie,
antagonize, and gin up
and lie.
Violence.
The fact is, they don't tell the truth either, though. They lie.
Well, of course that's true, but it wasn't even the pressure from them. I mean, what happened was their minions, these demonic people in Antifa, or what was then the forerunner of what is now called Antifa, back in 2008. I mean, these leftists are truly the violent people in American society, and they found out we were having a conference in 2008, and this is straight up what happened. They called the hotel. They threatened to blow up the hotel.
Hold on. Stop for a second. This is what I mean. Can you imagine that? I mean, this is off the rails, flat out hardcore crazy. Those people should be arrested on the spot for threatening those kind of things, James.
Well, let me tell you what actually happened.
Just the opposite happened, right?
Well, so the hotel called me and they said, we're getting threats, but you have a contract, and as long as, there's no illegal activity, which of course there wouldn't be, with us at least, we're going to honor the contract. But they continued to get these death threats from these leftists. And then the general manager got a phone call. They found who the general manager of that particular hotel was in 2008. They called him at his home and said they were going to murder him and his kids. And so then, this became a big news story in the local area in 2008. It was in the news. They declared a state of emergency. The county mayor declared a state of emergency because of all the threats of violence that was coming from the left. And then just a couple of days before the event, we had 500 people coming in. The hotel did just say, we just can't take on this amount of risk of violence, and so we are going to cancel your event. Now, we had 500 people coming. We scrambled, and in 48 hours, we found an alternative, although certainly a less quality venue. And it was still, we still had that event, and I think at the end of the day, about 300 out of the 500 people ended up coming, and it was a triumphant event. It's really the event, perhaps of all of them that I've done, that I'm the most proud of for some reasons, that we overcame that adversity. But it was certainly not something I wanted to make a habit. So since then, to protect the integrity of our events and to safeguard the livelihoods of our people from the violence that the left likes to do, and you saw it in the George Floyd riots, you've seen it with Antifa, we have kept all of our events private and invitation only to a close circle.
And then what they try
supporters.
to say, we keep them private, that we're trying to hold secret meetings. It has nothing to do with a secret meeting. It has everything to do with, let's say you have 500 people buy plane tickets and coordinate Ubers and do all these things and pay for hotels. How do they all back out of that if it's canceled? Or how do they move? Anyway, it's disaster.
Well, and that's the thing. And then if I've got, if people are coming to support something that we're doing, I place a tremendous amount of pressure on myself to deliver for them and to make sure that it is the most high quality event it can be, and that the integrity will be safeguarded, and that they will be safeguarded, and that they won't, invest this amount of money and time off of work to come to something that doesn't go off. So we do have to keep these things a little bit private, but that is not to say that great things, hopefully one day we'll be able to have conferences in a free society where we can exchange ideas and talk about the issues together.
Hotels around, you sure will. That's for sure, because they stood up big and bold. And anyway, Charlottesville, they went there believing that they were going to defend the statues and try to peacefully say we don't want the statues to come down. They went to Charlottesville. They literally got a permit. They thought that they could have a peaceful, stable event as well. They should have been protected because they had a permit and everything else. That was a massive failure, backfire, to prove the point as well, James.
Well, that's right. I mean, once again, you had citizens there who believed that they had rights in a free country, the rights to assemble on the public square and exchange ideas. And really what they were doing was trying to protect a majestic statue of a man who was considered perhaps to be America's most beloved general, Robert E. Lee, up until this rewrite of history just within the last decade plus. I mean, I was in Charleston, South Carolina for the burial of the crew of the Confederate submarine, the CSS Hunley, in 2004, Ted Turner was dressed as a Confederate general on horseback and led a procession that stretched a mile. There were 20,000 people in downtown Charleston in the early part of this century, the 2004. So, I mean, again, this whole thing where the Confederates are these evil people and all these monuments honoring their sacrifice have to be destroyed. I mean, that's something that's a very new manifestation in American society.
And it's all based on lies, though, as well. Let's be very clear. It's based on a perverted rewrite of history. It's based on clear, flat-out lies. Anyway, I don't want to spend our whole time on this, but I wanted people to understand. We had a conference last week. It was a private conference, meaning we invited people privately. We had an incredible conference. And I want to spend the bulk of our time talking about that conference. I wanted to set the stage so people understand this is what you have to do in America to even hold a conference like ours, James. Now, I'm proud of being there. I don't have any hesitancy in announcing we were there. There was nothing secret about it, James.
Not secret at all, but you want to be able to get work done. You want to be able to get work done. You want to be able to
at least have the conference, James.
That's exactly right. You want to be able to get work done without a concern that people are going to be have harm visited upon them by the practitioners of tolerance and diversity. So we did have this event, and it was, while I said before, the 2008 event where we had to overcome all of this godless, really, frankly, terrorism. It was economic terrorism. I mean, you're talking about, absolute threats of violence. And hotels, they don't know. They want to keep their employees safe. I'm not saying that hotel did us wrong. I get it. I understand.
Their properties, they don't want their property to be vandalized and destroyed either.
But however, there is something called a heckler's veto. If you had a bunch of, so-called white supremacists threatening to blow up a hotel that was hosting a meeting of the NAACP, I guarantee you that meeting would have gone on, and the people who were threatening that violence would be rightfully arrested. But that doesn't happen when it's on the other foot. Nevertheless,
and that's because we never riot and destroy property and do those things because it's against our code of ethics, James.
Well, that's an interesting thing, as you mentioned. It actually, it just has never happened. So I can't really actually tell you what would happen, but I would assume that people like that would be arrested. I mean, I don't know how far you got to go back to where you had
just look
white
at
people acting
Charlottesville.
like
Hold
that.
on, look at Charlottesville. You have seen it happen. You went to Charlottesville. They got permits. They did everything by the book that they were supposed
very
to.
good point.
The cops didn't protect them. The thugs came in without permits and literally created all kinds of havoc and violence and property destruction and everything else. The only people that got in trouble were the people that had the permits and the people that were doing it by the book. The thugs and the clowns and the evil, satanic-driven, psychotic ne'er-do-wells, they were all fine, right? So you have seen it happen.
Well, that's actually a very good point. That is actually a very good point, and a point well taken. And that did happen, and there's really nothing more we can say about that. That is exactly what happened, and the people that were responsible for the violence occurring got a free pass in the media. The people who were the victims of it were put in prison for intimidating.
And aren't some of them still in prison?
Orwellian. It absolutely Kafkaesque. It's Orwellian. Yes, some of them are. That's right.
Okay,
and
so
some of them.
We need Trump, though, to free those people, for crying out loud. Give them pardons and get them out of prison. Please, Donald, please.
Some of them are just now going to trial 7 years later. Can you believe it? Just
That's
now.
what you call a speedy
just
trial
now
in
arrested.
America, right? Not.
Well, I mean, it's not even that it wasn't speedy. It's that the charges were only brought a few months ago after 7 years. It beats all. I mean, it's just, there's no place like America, folks, I can tell you. But nevertheless, fast forwarding to this with all of that backstory and past events being used as a frame of reference here. So, great event last week. What gave birth to it was, and I made mention of this during my welcoming remarks, was a great interview that took place 2 days before the inauguration with former Congressman Steve King and Lou Moore, who was a former congressional chief of staff, good friend of ours here, both of them great friends of ours here at the network, and Lou was Ron Paul's campaign manager when he ran for president. But I had this interview.
And Lou does a show on the weekends called Hour of Decision. Sorry, Hour of Decision, and it's on Saturdays on Liberty News Radio. So just look out for that too. But continue.
Well, I had both of them on together, and sometimes we don't do that often, where we blend guests together and have them appear in tandem. But they did, and it was just a great interview. It was 2 days before the inauguration, and we were anticipating sort of best case scenario for Trump 2.0. And it was a really good conversation. And within the first week, I think Trump had exceeded pretty much every bar we had set. We said at some point we'd like to see at least some of the J6ers pardoned, and I think all of them were pardoned within hours. Okay, so I mean, he was firing, and it just so happened by coincidence or divine providence that
I would vote for the latter, by the way.
I think when you look at the chain of events that put this thing into motion, it was just perfect, because Steve gave such a good interview that night, 2 days before the inauguration, that I was thinking of other interviews we did. And so I went back and looked at some of them and looked at some of the things he was talking about and wanting to do. And one of them was to create this foundation in Europe that helps advance and defend Western civilization. And I called him up about it after the interview. And I said, Steve, are you still thinking about this? He said, yeah, I'd like to do it. I mean, we need some help with it. And I said, well, actually, I'm going to be meeting on January 25th, so a week later, the following Saturday. I said, I'm going to be meeting with this conservative nonprofit that have been friends of mine for a long time. They're actually having their board of directors meeting in the town that I live in, and I'm not on the board, but they've invited me to sit in on it. And, maybe all I wanted to do was to facilitate an introduction, just kind of put them in touch and see if, I like to put people together and see if things happen. And
by the way, ladies and gentlemen, when James does that, incredible things happen. But go on, sir.
Thank you, Sam. Well, that was really my entire thing. I had this meeting a week after that interview, 7 days later, and I just wanted to facilitate an introduction. He said, yeah, I'd be happy to talk to him. So we get to this meeting on January the 25th, and we're talking, and we're a few days into the Trump administration now, and it seems like there's just a new spirit in the air. A lot of things are happening, and so we start thinking about, well, what if it continues like this over the first 100 days, and where does it go beyond that? How far can this thing travel? They said, are you going to do a conference this year? And I said, no, I'm not going to do a conference this year. We did the big 20th anniversary conference last year, and conferences really take it out of me. We got to keep them private because of the violence and the threats from the left. And, it's hard to make money when you have to limit your audience, although we did have a sellout crowd. We could have had hundreds and hundreds of people there. But they said, well, we really want you to do a conference. And I said, well, I demurred, but we continued to talk. And then we had an interview that night. We did the show live from their boardroom, had one of the freed J6 hostages. And then after they started talking again, they said, well, we reconsider and we'll try to help you with some expenses. And if you did a conference this year, how would you want it? What kind of conference, would you have in mind? I mean, what could we do to sort of tap into this momentum and see if there's any opportunities for advancements on our issues under this shifting political climate that Trump seems to be bringing in? And I said, well, if we did a conference, I'd want to move quickly, because we never know how fast the shine is going to wear off Trump. Now, did we know back in January that by May, Trump would be talking about white genocide of South Africans. He would be talking about, abolishing DEI. All the great things Trump has done. We didn't know that then. I said, well,
and all the great things we support. Let's be very clear.
Oh, indeed. But again, as good as it was that first week, it was hard to forecast where things would be a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year down the road. I said, let's move quickly. But if we did something, I would want it to be a little different. I think my vision would be, we really need to take firm steps forward. I would want to have former elected officials, sitting elected officials, and aspiring elected officials to join us in this as we sort of have this will to power. And that became the name of the conference, the Will to Power Conference. And I said, the first guy I would want there is Steve King. And I said, if I had a wish list, the second guy I would want would be Philip de Winter. And Philip de Winter is a member of the Flemish Parliament in Belgium. And he is very strong. He's been there forever. He's well connected in European politics. I said, I would want Steve King and Philip de Winter to be the bookends. And then, maybe somebody like Congressman Steve Stockman. I said, great story there. I talked a little bit about Steve Stockman's incredible background. I said Lou Moore, Ron Paul's guy. Ron Paul was the bridge between Buchanan and Trump. I think, he's a friend of ours, if he would come. And I said, I can't do anything without Sam Bushman. I said, nothing runs without Sam. I can't tie my shoe without Sam. Sam is integral. We would need him. And then we talked about a couple of other people, but those were the principals. Those were the principal people, the names that I just mentioned. And they said, well, you tell us what it would cost, and you see if those people are interested. So I got to work on the phone, and I called Steve King the next day. I said, Steve, I told you I would follow up with you after I got done with meeting with this conservative foundation, and let me ask you something. I remember it plain as day. I was on the interstate. I was on Interstate 40 behind a big truck. And I said, do you believe that God moves people with his hand to be in a certain place at a certain time according to his perfect timing? And he said, well, James, I do. Where are we going? and
by the way, I do unequivocally as well, just to set the record straight.
Well, it all seemed to be just lining up. I mean, the fact that we had Steve King on that the 18th, I was meeting with this foundation the 25th. Things were popping in Washington. It just seemed like there was some momentum. So he was on board. So I said, okay, well, we got to start. Got in touch with Philip over in Europe, talked to everybody else, and every single one of the targets that I thought we really needed to have if we were going to do this conference accepted, and the rest is history. I mean, we sent out a letter to invitees. It sold out within 2 weeks, and then, I'm going to go into some great detail on my program this weekend about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I mean, we'll actually probably spend 3 hours breaking it down, what happened last weekend on that program this Saturday. But just to give you the Cliff's Notes version today, it takes just, as Sam knows, an obscene amount of planning, the attention to detail, the things that you have to do behind the scenes to make these things fly. But it was a pretty short turnaround. I mean, normally when I plan a conference, I plan it a year out. We had 3.5 months to start this thing. We didn't announce it. Because it takes a few days to get a venue. You got to sign a contract. You got to do all that. That takes some time. You can't announce it until the infrastructure is in place. And we didn't even announce this until sometime, into February, around Valentine's Day. So we really had about 3 months to get this thing on. Sold out immediately. And then, you fast forward to the event last weekend, and it was just incredible, Sam. I mean, what would you say about the content of the speeches and just sort of, again, the overall purpose of our gathering?
I would say this. There was the spirit of liberty in the room. There was the spirit of God, family, and country in the room. And I don't say country in the terms of necessarily the United States as we know it, but as the United States as we think it ought to be, as we hope it to be in the future. And I think that the feeling was jovial. It was humble. There was laughter. There was tears. There was gratitude. There was camaraderie. There was safety and security and stability, and most importantly, there was hope in the air, James. That's how I would describe it.
The name of Christ was invoked. There were prayers before. So, and let me tell you, everything you said, I have in all capital letters on my notes here, camaraderie. There was just a spirit of togetherness. There was a lot of smiles. Everybody was having a good time while important work was taking place. I mean, I have seen so many times in my life traveling to these events that seeds are planted that bear fruit going forward that you cannot anticipate yet. And I can guarantee you there will be things that come from this event. I already know about some of the plans being made as a result of these people being brought together, this particular group of people being brought together that have the chance to be absolutely momentous. And when that happens, we'll be able to say, you and I and we together, Sam, will be able to say, that came because we did this conference. That's why it's important. It's not, of course, it's always fun to get together. It's always, it's important to share that fellowship and good company. But in addition to that, it recharges you, it rejuvenates you. But in addition to that, I think there are going to be some practical things that come from this that would not have happened had the effort not been put forth.
And by the way, there's a written review of the conference by Hunter Wallace that's in the Occidental Descent that you can check out as well. I'll put it in the show notes. When we come back, James will continue and break this down. I'm telling you, it was one of the most incredible events I've been to in years. And we'll come back, break it down just for you. We'll let you in on not only what happened, but what the future plans are coming out of this incredible conference, all driven by James Edwards and I would call it and team. Hang tight.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Elon Musk, whose time as Doge chief recently ended, is parting ways with President Trump over the One Big Beautiful Bill now being debated in the Senate. Musk is harsh in his criticism of the measure and those who voted for it.
With all due respect, my friend Elon is terribly wrong about the One Big Beautiful Bill.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he has spoken to Musk at length about the tax cut and budget bill, so the criticism is disappointing. Tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from most countries have risen to 50%, that effective today. President Trump says he is determined to stop America's trading partners from taking advantage of the U.S. Iran's supreme leader is defiant, saying there is no way the Islamic Republic will stop enriching uranium, something experts say is key to building a nuclear arsenal.
The remarks by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei coloured in a red line, one that says Tehran refuses to give up enriching uranium in any possible deal with the US. That demand has been repeatedly made by American officials, including President Donald Trump, though it remains unclear just how much envoy Steve Witkoff brought it up in his initial proposal to Tehran. But what Khamenei did not say in his speech matters as well. He didn't reject the talks, which Iran views as crucial for its economy to lift some of the crushing economic sanctions it faces. Khamenei also didn't insist on any specific level of nuclear enrichment. Iran now enriches uranium up to 60%, a short technical step from weapons-grade levels. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The FBI has reportedly made an arrest in New York in connection with last month's explosion at a Palm Springs, California fertility clinic. Details expected soon, a news conference pending by federal prosecutors in Los Angeles. On Wall Street, the Dow trading 65 points higher. The Nasdaq is up 59. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Mike Gallagher here, host of the Mike Gallagher Show. If you know me, you know I only put my name behind people and companies I trust. When it comes to mortgages, I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. They're not just friends. They've done loans for me, my family. I've seen firsthand how they treat every client like their family. And these days, that personal touch really matters. With the cost of everything up, you might be looking for ways to free up cash. Maybe you're thinking about a cash-out refi or HELOC to finish some home projects, consolidate debt, or just get ahead financially. Fellowship is a full-service direct lender, not a broker. They cut out the middleman. That means faster decisions, fewer fees, and less stress. Whether you're buying your first home, downsizing, or refinancing to get some breathing room, they'll tailor fit the loan to your life. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began, Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcasts at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Well, welcome back, everybody. James Edwards, once again, given the honor to bring you back from break on Sam Bushman's Liberty Roundtable, and we're talking about this event that we put together. When I say we, I mean your humble servant and Sam himself, along with some other friends that we mentioned in the previous segment. And I just want to say again, the absolute disgusting liars in the entire establishment press writ large, but certainly with these left-wing communist agitprop organizations that you see on social media. Not only do they lie, I mean, it's such a grotesque caricature. I don't know exactly the kind of image that they like to cast of patriots, except that, you know, you would think that when we gather together, it's just a bunch of grunting and evil plotting and things like that. But no, I mean, again, there were so many young mothers and young children in the room. I mean,
incredible.
It was just
the cutest kids ever, too, by the way.
It was just, it was an absolute picture-perfect look into what a healthy movement looks like, a movement around God and country, and not this culture of death. I mean, they call us racist because we don't want to become extinct. And this was something, but I'll tell you this. This is just the fellowship, everybody getting along, everyone enjoying each other's company. I mean, we went, all of the speakers we had come in a day early because you never know with flights.
Yes,
if
indeed.
Something's going to get delayed or canceled. I had that happen with one of Sam's events. We're playing anyway. But so we wanted to get everybody in there a day early. So we had a day cushion. And so all the speakers came in on Thursday. And we went out to eat on this rooftop bar. Just great time of reconnecting and just enjoying each other. We went to, on Friday, early afternoon before the conference began last Friday evening, we all went to this small Confederate museum together. And I mean, everybody just in there laughing, learning. Steve Stockman holding a bayonet. A great picture of him. Philip DeWinter holding a cannonball, standing next to a cannon. This personal tour by the museum curator, answering questions. I mean, it was just. It's what normal people do. Normal people do things like this. And then we get there.
I'll tell you what I did that's kind of funny. I don't mean to interrupt, but this relates to this, too. This part that you mentioned about racism or some sinister secret thing or whatever weird claims they make, which are absolutely just propaganda bogus. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you who, but I'm going to tell you what, okay? I charged several people that were there, and I said, I want you to watch the proceedings, attend the conference, go to Dixie Republic, go to all the different things, and I want you to see if you can document any racism or any hatred that you see. And do you realize they came back and said there wasn't any?
I do believe that.
That's true.
I actually
really did that.
I believe it.
Not because I thought there would be any, but I wanted literally independent people to document that for me. And they did. And there was nothing. They felt like it was just educational, informative, cheerful, positive. They really, really loved Steve King's historical speech and perspective. They said that was just incredible. Philip DeWinter and his focus was just eye-opening, to say the least. I'm just saying it was something. So anyway, I don't mean to digress too much, but I really wanted to throw that out there, though. I literally charged them and said, I want you to find it for me. And they said there wasn't any.
Well, of course, we knew that, Sam. You've been to so many of my events,
well, of course.
But it's
good
good
to have a third party validate, right?
It's absolutely no. We should always be auditing. We should always be probing, and we should always be improving. And whether it's improving our presentation or our messaging or whatever, but it is good. No, it is good to have independent people go in and give you an assessment. But yeah, so getting to Steve King's speech. So you get now to Friday night. He opened it, and Philip closed it the next night. They were our two evening keynoters. And by the way, talking about having a good time, we had two professional musicians there. We had a piano player that we brought in from Central Florida. He's played at all of our events, save one. And he is just, it's hard to do one without him because he adds so much atmosphere to it. Music just brings people together. It lightens and livens the mood.
Oh, yeah.
And
you want to know something funny? I went up and gave him a hug because he's a friend of mine, too. I went up and gave him a hug. He literally turned around and gave me a hug and didn't miss a beat playing the piano at the same time.
No, he's that good. And I'm not saying he plays the piano like he knows how to play the piano. I mean, he is a professional. That's what he does for a living, musician. And so he was playing during the dinner banquets on Friday and Saturday. People are eating, they're putting in requests, just a great atmosphere. And then after hours, after the keynote speakers on each night, we had a guitar player from Memphis that came in. This was his first time. And we brought him in, and it was just, so all of it. I mean, you're firing on all cylinders, but getting down to the actual substance. I mean, so Steve King just gave a great exposition. He goes in an hour, he basically charts the entire history of Western civilization.
And he
sets
almost
the room
talked as
on
fast
fire.
as Sam Bushman even. It was incredible.
You had to get an hour, in an hour, 5,000 years worth of history. But rhetorically speaking, he set the room on fire. But he said, quite simply, if you remove or eliminate the people who made Western civilization, whether it's advocating for lower birth rates or replacement level immigration, then Western civilization doesn't exist anymore. It will not exist anymore. It is worth saving. That
and then
nobody.
Then he tied it to Christianity and the Christ-based fundamentals as well. It was something.
He surely did, and he said, nobody has done more to bestow God's blessing on humanity than the men of the West. And he said that that is something that of course, a message that ultimately got him removed from Congress when he was with us, Sam, we were there at the same time when we were all there at the 2016 Republican National Convention. He was doing a hit on MSNBC, and he talked about this. And I knew this story, but it's always good to hear it. That right before they were going to break, one of the panelists said, "I hope this is the last time we're ever in the presence of so many white people." Of course, that's not a racist statement.
It's a horrible racist statement.
Exactly, but I'm just saying the media would say that's not a racist statement. That's just good,
And by the way, even if
commentary.
they want to make that racist statement, I disagree with them, but I have every right. I mean, they have every right to say it, right?
But I'm just saying that, which is entirely race-based, is not a racist statement according to the media. As long as you're denigrating white people, it's not racist. If you are saying positive things about them, then you're very evil. So we know how that works, that double standard. But Steve King said he heard that, and he said he just couldn't let it go. And he said, actually, I'm kind of tired of all this kind of talk. Name a group of people who have done more. And they say, who? White people? And he said, the men of Western civilization who, by God's grace, carried the footprint of Jesus Christ everywhere they went. And of course, that was the beginning of the chain of events that led Steve King from Congress and to our ranks and to our friendship.
I look at it as he graduated from Congress and started to participate with the Liberty Roundtable. The political
God
cesspool.
has. This was something that came, Sam. This was something that was brought up many times throughout the weekend, and that was that God's will be done. Even when it looks like you're experiencing a setback, you never know. And I think Steve King certainly, this was some of the things that were talked this weekend. Steve King has the ability in some ways to do more now and have an impact that he might not have had he stayed in Congress. We talked about Pat Buchanan, who basically was the one whose ideas eventually propelled Trump into the White House. Pat Buchanan got 1% of the vote in 2000 when he ran the third and final time as the Reform Party nominee. And that 1% changed the world. I want you to think about this. If he had done any better than 1%, Al Gore would have been president flat out. And people would have romanticized neoconservative Republicans. But because Pat only got 1%, it allowed Bush to win. People saw how criminally corrupt the neocons were. And from that 1%, in beating Donald Trump en route to the Reform Party nomination, Trump took his ideas, and now they are the prevailing currents in all of society. God's will be done. I mean, you just don't know how things and efforts are going to be used. So we're going to see some things come from this conference. But then you had some other great speakers. Saturday night, you had Philip DeWinter. Philip DeWinter, of course, their big issue in Europe is, of course, also the declining birth rates of the native population and Islamization. And he
really,
says that
he spoke of the overrun of their whole countries to where they don't even have any control of their own countries anymore, really.
Well, that's exactly right. And he talked about how Islam is completely incompatible with Western Christian civilization, and that they are working through his political party and others that they are in contact with. And again, this is a sitting member of parliament. He's been in there since like the 80s. I mean, he's just been in there really his whole life. And they're doing so much to advance remigration, which is a great word. You're not deporting anyone. You're remigrating them. But they should be remigrated because they weren't invited. I mean, they crashed the gates and they're sucking off social programs. And that isn't even the worst of it. I mean, you have rapes and we talked about just the violence, the murders, that these things, they're completely incompatible culture. And so they're fighting for that. But Steve and Philip were the bookends. They were complementary messages. And then, of course, earlier in the day on Saturday, we heard from Lou Moore. We heard from Steve Stockman. We heard from others. And we heard from you, Sam. You a very important message about the work of this radio network and other things. Talk about that.
Well, I basically said that, you know what, we've had a lot of wins along the way. And I highlighted some of those wins. You know, we've really battled with the Southern Poverty Law Center. We've really won. Believe it or not, there's an article that came out today about the Southern Poverty Law Center and how basically criminal they are and how discredited they've become. So I highlighted a lot of that. I focused on, my battle with me and Richard Mack, who we've actually forced the Southern Poverty Law Center to retract, which in my opinion was pretty impressive. We started that kind of ball rolling years ago. When they retracted, that was the starting of their discrediting of the SPLC, just showing them to be flat out clowns. Now basically everybody but the left wing extreme liberals realize it. We talked about a lot of what me and James have accomplished. We're the nexus of supposedly hate and racism in America. It's a flat out lie. And I'm telling you, going to our conference would show people differently. I talked about how they tried to attack me for going to the Southern store, highlighting Southern history and Southern, I don't know if I want to say pride. I'm scared of that word now because they've bastardized it and destroyed the word. But nevertheless, so we went on Sunday. Talk about where we went, James, because I'm intentionally letting you say where we went.
Well, we went back again, as we always do when we're in the upcountry of South Carolina. We went back to Dixie Republic. I mean, these people have Republic.
So they attacked me relentlessly in Rolling Stone for going to the Dixie Republic, and I told them I went. I was proud to go, and I'll go again. And, of course, I did, and I will. And then I even invited the Rolling Stone clown, Tim Dickinson, I think is his name, to go with me to see what it's like, and he refused because he's chicken. But I'm telling you right now, I even had those folks look around the store. Can you find racist stuff at the store? Nothing there. It was really just Southern education, Southern history, a lot of funny shirts and stickers and incredible flags, and I mean, just a great, great, great store. I spent some time with the guy that founded the store. And then the guy that now owns the store, just two tremendous individuals that have integrity and honor. Anyway, I was proud to be at Dixie Republic. I didn't hesitate on saying the name, except I wanted to kind of draw attention to, they think I'm afraid to say it. I will quadruple down in defense of those gentlemen and their store. James?
Amen, Sam. And that is just such a wonderful part of the country, that part of South Carolina. It's safe. It's clean. I mean, you can't have this conference in just any city. I mean, there's so many cities in America that
Greenville is one of the most beautiful places ever. I mean, it is just a downtown. There's shopping, there's restaurants. I mean, it is classy, buddy.
It's a river walk. It really does have a European feel to it. It's got cobblestones. I mean, there's a lot of shopping. If you're a foodie, you'll be in heaven. The boutiques, but it's got this river walk that goes straight through downtown. People out reading books and picnicking and bicycling and walking. It's just everybody's attractive. And there's just so many cities in America that you can't have a conference at because they're just
disaster.
not safe. They're just not
That's
safe.
right. So I'll tell you what happened. I walked down the street and found this little teeny Italian pizza restaurant. I ducked into there, and believe it or not, the owner's sitting there. And he's super Italian. I mean, English is his second language. You could tell for sure. And I go in there, and I don't know if you know, but I love this food called panzerotti. You probably don't even know what it is. But it's a southern food that's kind of like a calzone, but it's fried. It's just delicious. And I looked on the menu, and I said, oh, my gosh, there's no panzerotti. And I asked the waitress, and she didn't even know what it was. And I said, listen, is that the owner over there? She says, yes. I said, okay, can you go over there and ask him if he's got panzerotti? And she came back, and she goes, we don't have it on the menu, but he knows what you're talking about, and he'll literally go make it for you. You tell him what you want in it. So I literally told this guy, and he literally made me these beautiful panzerottis. I mean, it was delicious. I'm digressing, but I'm just telling you, that's the kind of place it is.
It's just great, and we have a big network of support there with local people who help make up our host committee. I mean, they were driving the speakers to and from the airport, and we had, I mean, everything was just first class. But yeah, we did at the end of it all, after Friday evening and all day Saturday conferencing and coming together to discuss ideas and allow solutions to present themselves, engaging in conversation and networking. We did have a grand finale on Sunday morning. We had a charter tour bus. I mean, it'd be something like, a rock band would be on. And so there were a lot of people who had early flights. So
James
one
even
bus
threw down the karaoke. I mean, he's going to be the lead singer going forth, the front man, James Edwards.
We actually, okay, so that was Saturday night. I mean, yeah, we did do a little bit. So we had a guitar player and a piano player and a microphone. So, what am I going to do when you set the stage, when you set the trap like that, you'll catch me every time. And so I sang Mac the Knife. And Steve King actually recorded me singing Mac the Knife, and you could hear him laughing while he was recording it on his phone, and then he texted me the video. I mean, that's just the kind of stuff that was going on.
James, hold on. You got to send that to me.
I'll send it. I'll text it to you right now.
Text
so
it,
this
text
is
that
when
to
you
me.
get it. When you get it, know that was Steve King. It came from Steve King's phone, and you can hear him laughing at the end. But I mean, so we hadn't practiced it though. So there was like one part in the middle where we had to kind of find another key.
It's a bunch of people that are having fun, is what it is. Let's be clear.
Well, we were talking about serious issues, but you can't go through life and not have a good time, too. I mean, if you don't enjoy each other's company and everything, I mean, yes, we're talking about life and death, will our civilization survive type of topics, and how to make sure that we do
and not
survive
only
and thrive.
will it, but we spend our time on how to make sure that happens. That's
Exactly.
really the whole point of the conference, James. And
So
the conference highlighted what it's going to take, and then the takeaway is what we're going to do, James.
Very serious stuff, but we could still have a good time when we're together, and we should. God gives us these friendships and these relationships, and you need to relax and have a good time when you're together. These things are few and far between. But, yeah, so we did do a little bit of karaoke, and that was fun. And then Sunday morning, we took this bus. Now, some people took their personal cars if they were driving, so they wouldn't have to go back to the hotel. But the people who flew, we had a bus for them. Okay, so half the people drove, half the people rode the bus. And we got there, and again, just awesome atmosphere. There's a produce stand on the ground. I mean, of course, the Mercantile, the store, and then... I mean, you've seen it all when you see Philip DeWinter throwing axes. He was over there at the axe throwing booth, and he was hitting bullseyes. Man, I don't know what this guy does in his spare time.
They've got axes. And they have Dixie Fest every year, and they have all kinds of things for kids and all kinds of fun things. They have food, and I brought this up to the Rolling Stone magazine guy because he was interviewing me about it, and he was like, "Yeah, you guys had secret meetings." I'm like, "Man, I wasn't involved in any secret meetings." Then I thought over the weekend James was in a secret meeting, but I went outside and he was with everybody else outside, so there was no secret meetings of any kind. There was private meetings, but not secret ones. But I digress. The reason I bring this up, though, is, I mean, I told this guy, yeah, it's just like a fun, atmosphere. It's like the 4th of July kind of a, thing. And he goes, "Do you think I was born yesterday? Are you kidding me?"
But he wouldn't dare, Sam.
About?
Sam, these people wouldn't dare come. I mean, first of all, they're not concerned with the truth. They're not concerned with the truth at all. So know
but
that.
If you're if you're a real journalist, you must go and learn and know and report facts, James.
Well, let's just say he was actually curious. Then he would be confronted with the fact that everything he believes or pretends to believe, his narrative is going to be completely eviscerated by the truth.
If you're an honest journalist, that's what you would do, James.
If he's an honest journalist, he wouldn't be working. He wouldn't be getting paid to do it. Think about it. I mean, Rolling Stone ain't going to pay him to report honestly on events like that. They've got a narrative, and he's going to stick to it. So whether he believes it or is just pretending to believe it or whatever, he's not going to do anything else because he likes his paycheck, and he probably hates us. He probably hates everything we stand for. So he's going to try to harm us, and that's his intention. And it's not to report factually. And it's not just him; it's all of them, frankly. So there's that. But no, I mean, you got Philip the Winter.
I'm a truth teller, and I'm an honest reporter, and everything else. And I'm telling you, when I went there, that's what I saw. That's what I participated in, and I'm telling you, it was incredible, and I loved it, and I'm going back.
We can't get back often enough. I'm there once or twice a year, every year now for about a half a decade, and but now you got this lion of the Parliament, Philip out there throwing axes, everybody having a good time. And inside the store, outside the store, and then it sort of left. I gave a couple of brief closing remarks on the bus, and because I had my private vehicle there, so I was driving back home from there and didn't go back. But no, it was just wonderful from start to finish. There are going to be things that happen, and again, I think the reason, I mean, it's always important. And by the way, if anybody from one of these little lefty groups are thinking that we, are sharing some stories, I mean, all this stuff's already up on social. Like Philip DeWinter had the stuff of him at the Confederate Museum and throwing axes up on his Instagram within minutes, days ago. But everybody had a good time. You can see it.
If you guys want to know what really went down, call me. Just, we'll debate it. We'll discuss it. I'll record it. We'll play it on the radio. Okay, come on.
But I think the reason that I appreciate Sam dedicating an hour of his show to let me talk about this, or for us to talk about it together, it just goes to show, folks, again, when you support the work of this radio network, when you support Sam Bushman, this does not happen. There's no way this conference, even if all the speakers had said, yes, we want to do it, even if I had the, going along with the legwork and doing all the stuff that I do, and people supporting it to help make it financially viable, it doesn't happen without Sam. So again, this is just another thing. There's so much more going on at this radio network than just programming, although that's very important. I mean, the radio shows are good, and they play an important role, but there's so much more going on when you support the work of Sam Bushman and Liberty News Radio. There's so much more than just high quality radio broadcast. It's stuff like this and so many other things, and Sam spent a lot of his time talking about that.
All I will say is this. Here's my question for everyone. Are you part of Team Western Civilization? Because I sure am. And the dream of Steve King and the international elements of this thing is happening now. That's really the takeaway from the conference, James. We just jump off from here, right?
Well, I certainly hope so. And we definitely, I think there is, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think seeds were planted, and the fruit from these seeds will develop in the days and weeks to come. And then we will look back and we'll say, it all started right there. And that's a legacy. And that's, again, that happens. I think it's going to happen here. We had some very important people in that room. And 2 former congressmen, a sitting member of parliament, a guy who's running for office. I think he's going to win. Lou Moore, and others, and others. I mean, we're only mentioning a few. There were others, and all pulling in the same direction, all on the same team, all concerned about the way the world is going and what we can do to better it. All filtered through the lens of Christianity, which was mentioned by just about all the speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we really need to understand. It's about Western civilization and about the Christianity that Western civilization brings everywhere it goes, about the stability and prosperity and safety and liberty that people who are white provide. Does that mean we're downing anybody else? No. But you cannot deny factual history. You cannot deny the value brought. And anybody who embraces Christian values and understands that has to support that truthful reality. It's that simple. And therefore, we cannot let it die. We must stand together. We must look to the principles of Western civilization for our future if we want to be free and prosperous. James, isn't it that simple?
It really is, Sam. It's the blessings that flow from that to all of humanity. God bless you, Sam. God bless Christians, and God save the faith.
We are Liberty Roundtable Live, ladies and gentlemen, hard-hitting talk radio. If you want to get a 3-hour breakdown of this, check out the Political Cesspool this Saturday night, thepoliticalcesspool.org. There's a live link, and then there's an archive that you can listen to if you can't make the show live. It's all available. God save our republic.